and dedication. She's a native of Kingston, Jamaica, who immigrated to the United States at the age of 6. Later on, she would join the United States Marine Corps. Even before becoming Lieutenant Governor, she has an extensive track record of civil justice, having served as Vice President of Virginia State Board of Education and a presidential nominee to the U.S. Bureau of Census, co-chair of the African American Committee, and part of the Advisory Committee on Women's Veterans Affairs to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. She was also a state legislator in Virginia and a member of ALEC at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome me, giving a warm welcome to Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears.
Hello. Oh, we can do better than that. Hello! I sort of like to think of it as the Seinfeld hello, if some of you are old enough anyway. It is so good to be here. What a difference a year makes. Last time you were in San Diego that I saw you, and although I was in office 20 years ago in the House, man, I've got to tell you, it feels like I've been 3 years Lieutenant Governor already. I was walking by a picture of old Abe Lincoln. This was right after the Civil War. He had taken that picture, and he was looking so haggard, and I said to him just yesterday, Abe, I don't intend to look like you when this is all done. But again, it's good to be here. We're talking about serious business. And the business of the people is serious. And there's something I want to say. I saw Dave Chappelle just the other day on Saturday Night Live, his opening monologue. And what he said was this. He said, it shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything. Because, you know, the court jesters back then, they were the ones who had the ability to talk to the king, to talk to the politician about things that were hard to hear. And our comedians today really are our modern-day court jesters. So when he says it shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything, it shouldn't be. So we're going to change that. And at ALEC, we talk about what we want to talk about. Don't we? Yes, we do. I want to talk to you today about education. My dad came to America, you know my story. 1963, at the height of the civil rights movement, with only $1.75 in his pocket. And actually, I'm spotting him a quarter because he couldn't remember if it was $1.50 or $1.75. Just say he had a little more than lint in his pocket. And he came here because, of course, he said this is where the jobs and the opportunities were, no matter how bad it was. And actually, he could have gone to England. It would have been easier for him to enter there because he was still a British citizen. He came on a British passport because we were still a British colony. So he took any money he could find, and he used the money to put himself through school and started his American dream, started his career. And so what could I have said to that man if I didn't succeed when he came just 17 days before Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech? When things were really bad for us, what could I say to him? I can't succeed, I'm black. Really? You know, my father's never beaten me in my life. He might have gotten the belt then. So education lifted my father out of poverty. Education lifted me out of poverty because I have to find my own way in this world. Education lifted all of us out of poverty. That's what the slaves wanted. Three things. Number one, their freedom. Number two, their families reunited. Number three, they wanted to get an education. Frederick Douglass You know he's a Republican. Frederick Douglass said when his master learned that his master's wife was teaching him how to read and write, that he said to her, "Don't do that. It's against the law, number one, and once a slave knows how to read and write, he's no good for anything he thinks that he can achieve." So, education is where I am, and education we are going to fight for, but what type of education? Education, parental choice. It is time. We're not asking the school boards anymore. We're telling them, you are going to give us the ability to choose where our children will go to school. I did a men's prison ministry for 2 years. 72% or greater of the incarcerated are functionally illiterate. I ran a women's homeless shelter. Most of them were illiterate. There is a reason why we talk about a school-to-prison pipeline. Indeed, the NAEP scores are showing us that we're only fooling ourselves and guaranteeing our children a terrible future. In Virginia, we learned that by the time our children reach the 8th grade, when it comes to math, 35% of them who are Asian are failing. 45% of white children, 70% of Latino children, and this number brought tears to my eyes, 84% of black children cannot do math. And by the way, they almost never catch up. So, we're not asking anymore, we are demanding, we are telling them that we want school choice now. I understand we have in the room today 2 people whose successes we are building on. Ben Toma, author of the Arizona Bill, and Patricia Rucker, author of the West Virginia Bill. So we know it can be done. You've shown us the path. I support increasing innovation and opportunities for our students, whether it is lab schools, whether it is charter schools. 20 years ago, this is not my first rodeo. When I was in House, I put in a bill to expand charter schools so that, number 1, higher ed would get involved. Number 2, immunity would also apply to them in the same way that it applies to other public schools. And then this one last piece, number 3, that we want to know not just the granting of the charter schools, but also the denials and why. You couldn't just willy-nilly deny. And my God, after 10 years in Virginia, we still only have 7. So, it shouldn't be this hard. Shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything. School choice is the new Brown versus Board of Education fight. Because what was that fight about? It was not to get into necessarily public schools or white schools, whatever that meant. It was for a parent to decide where to send their own child to school. That was the foundation of it. The new redlining is the zip code that keeps us in our schools, and we're not having it anymore. Not at all. We have even lowered the standards of getting into higher education. 65%, we are told, 65% of the new students when they go to college need remedial education, what they should have had in high school. Something is wrong, something is terribly wrong. You know who's not lowering their standards? Let's check the boxes. China, not lowering their standards. North Korea, not lowering their standards. Russia, Iran, India, all of these places. In fact, on the PISA test, the national test, actually the international test of all students, we find out that China is number one. America, which is the number one superpower, is number 13. How long do you think that will be good? No, we're not lowering the standards any longer. We cannot be a people so transfixed and bound by the past that our children are unable to move into the future, because the world is not waiting for them. We know that. They must be ready. They must have a hope and a future. So, as Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. We're not going to burn down our own house. Ronald Reagan indeed said this in his speech, A Time for Choosing, 50-plus years ago. He said, "I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. I think it is time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us. Because if we lose freedom here, there is no other place to escape." It shouldn't be this hard, this scary to talk about something. No, America isn't perfect. We have a saying at church, and it's this: I may not be what I'm supposed to be, but I ain't what I used to be. And that's America, isn't she? No, she's not perfect, and she was created by imperfect people. But we're going to keep her. I'm not going to trade her, and I know you wouldn't either. We have got to do well for our children so that when they ask, "What did you do?" we can say we fought and we kept fighting so that you would have a hope and a future. Because they're depending on us to do well. Because, again, as President Reagan said, takes one generation. That's it. And in fact, before him, Abraham Lincoln said, "The policy of the classroom in one generation will be the policy of the government in the next." We see it before our eyes, and we are saying, not any longer. We are going to do something about it. It's about our children. We're not asking anymore. We are demanding. Next year, we are going to be putting in a bill on school choice, and we will say to them, "Go ahead. Vote against it if you dare, because either way, we win." Because it's an election year. So God bless you. Keep fighting. You can accomplish anything if you're willing to lose. God bless you. God bless America.
Please welcome back to the stage, Karen Fan.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Sears. I'm sure I speak for all of us here when I say I will never get tired of hearing you speak. She is amazing. She is a shining and rising star, and we want to make sure that we will always be the wind behind her back and help you move on forward. ALEC and its work is made possible by the time and effort of willing leaders all across the country. I'm thankful to have played a part in that leadership here as the 2022 ALEC National Chair. Next year, this role will be held by Daniel Perez. He is a state representative from the 116th Florida district. Do they really have that many districts in Florida? We have 30 in Arizona. And he is a longtime friend of ALEC. If you want to talk about someone who embodies the future hope of this country and of the American dream, Daniel is a perfect example, as any. He has a Latino background coming from a Cuban-American heritage. He is a leader who embodies the future of the Republican Party and of the conservative movement and the greater number of Latino voters who look for opportunities for growth here in the United States, something we've seen even in the results of the 2022 midterm elections. Daniel currently serves this organization as its 2022 vice chairman and has been a part of its board of directors for many years. We are grateful for his service up to this date and grateful for him as he prepares to undertake this new role in the coming year. Thank you, Representative Perez, for stepping up and filling this position. The ALEC International Pioneer Award is presented to leaders on the international stage whose careers exemplify a commitment to ALEC's Jeffersonian principles of free markets, individual liberty and limited government, but unlike ALEC's Thomas Jefferson Freedom Awards, International Pioneer Award recipients are not American. A recipient of the International Pioneer Award is marked by serving the causes of freedom and liberty both in their own countries and abroad, and have inspired generations of future leaders with their leadership. Well, this year, we have the distinct honor of handing out this year's International Pioneer Award to someone who has quite literally defended the geopolitical stability of Europe and kept an entire country out of the reach of attempts to dominate, intimidate, and conquer. It's been the better part of a year since Putin announced a special operation to conquer the sovereign nations and state of Ukraine. But what he thought would be a quick and speedy exercise turned into an all-out defense that captured the attention of the world and demonstrated that a free people would not so easily surrender to tyranny. That effort was led by our recipient today. It is with great honor that we present the International Pioneer Award to one of the great leaders of our time, Vladimir Zelensky, who is the President of Ukraine. And here to accept that award on behalf of the Ukrainian Presidential Office is Her Excellency Oksana Markakova. I swore I wasn't going to mess that up. Markakova, Ukrainian Ambassador to the United States. Would you please help me welcome the Ambassador?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It would be very difficult to speak after Lieutenant Governor, but I will try. It's an honor to be here on behalf of the President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine. I'm so happy to be in the audience with so many members and so many ALEC excellent members elected by the people of this great country. I'm also happy that we have a member of Ukrainian Parliament, Alexei Goncharenko, with us. Thank you for being here. It's very special to get this award to President Zelensky in times when we fight for our freedom. One of the recipients of this award, Margaret Thatcher, once said her very famous phrase that when people have the freedom to choose, they choose freedom when they're free to choose. This is what Ukrainian people do today. We choose freedom, and we made that existential choice repeatedly during the previous 400 years. But unfortunately, we also lost that battle repeatedly during the previous 400 years. And in 1991, 98% of Ukrainians said yes to freedom and independence again, and we finally became free from Russia. whether it was called Russian Empire, Soviet Union, or Russian Federation now. And we started building our own country. And this is what we as Ukrainians like to do. We like to build the country like we want to live in it. We want to choose freely our leaders, and we want to change them regularly. And that's what differentiates us from Russians. And as soon as it became clear that only 30 years of independence, and in 2014 when Russia attacked us the first time, it was even less than that, was enough to have a generation of Ukrainians that never lived under occupation. And it was enough for all of the people in Ukraine, regardless whether they are from north or south, west or east, what religion do they believe, or how they look, because Ukraine is a very diverse country, but all of us are united in one thing. We all are Ukrainians, and we want to live separately, and we just want to live peacefully and freely. Just that was enough for Russians to attack us in 2014, and just that, together with our reforms and speedy move to the European Union, to NATO, was enough to reinvade us in February 24, and that was a full-fledged war, which now Russia wages against Ukraine for more than 8 months. Rockets, Iranian drones, occupying territories, doing all kinds of atrocities, killing people, torturing people, kidnapping and stealing our children into Russia. There is no violation of international law or war crime that Russians did not do in Ukraine. And yet, during this more than 8 months, I think everyone now saw that we do what we said we would do. We would not surrender, we will not give up, and we will defend our country. And thank you. And after 8 months now, I can say that not only we will not give up, but we will win this war. And you all know that President Zelensky on 24th of February said, I'm here, I'm staying. We also know that all of you know the famous phrase that I need ammo, not a ride. This is what will it take to win this war. And everyone in Ukraine, from President Zelensky to members of parliament, to people of Ukraine, to volunteers, to our brave armed forces, our veterans, our regular citizens, our mothers, they all are now breathing and fighting every day in order to get to that victory faster. And we are not alone this time. This time, the United States, the people of your great country are with us. And that's why we have strong support from everyone, from President Biden, from administration, from Congress, on a very strong bipartisan basis, to all of you. It has been more than 300 documents that were adopted by local legislatures during this time. And we really appreciate and value each of them. And there is still so much more you can do. So let's work together, let's do all of that together, let's win together this war, because us winning, of course, existential for us, but it's also existential for democracies everywhere. We have to show that not only we can deliver to our people better, we know that, we see how people live in autocratic regimes, but we also have to show that we can defend ourselves from this autocratic regime, and the implications of us winning, and very importantly Russia losing, are very important for everyone on our planet. We need to make this place a safer place, and that requires us winning. So just to finish, thank you for everything we have received from the United States. As I always say, thank you, but we need more. We need more weapons, we need more financial support, we need more sanctions for Russia. And then after we win, Ukraine could be not only a great partner to the United States, but also a solution to so many global problems that we see right now. Energy challenges, food crisis, which we can resolve or help to resolve together with others, and many, many more. And we can do it together, and we would like to see more cooperation on the regional level, between states and our oblast, between American cities and our cities, between American schools and our schools, because I think we have a lot to share there as well. So with that, I want to say thank you to all of you for this award. I want to say thank you to all Ukrainian defenders who are on the front lines fighting as we speak, so that I can be here and speak. And I want to say God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Markarova. Got it right that time. You know, hearing that, I'm reminded that the ideas we strive for here are ideas that are sorely needed in the rest of the world as well. In light of the struggle of the people of Ukraine and the example of President Zelensky, I'm more aware of the gift of freedom that we enjoy in the United States, and let's hope we never take that for granted. Food should be arriving at the tables momentarily. Please enjoy your lunch, and we will resume very shortly. Thank you.